stand in the middle of Rome today. Almost 3,000 years of history press in from every direction. The same 7 hills, the same river, the same stones Caesar and Augustus and Nero once walked across. Nearly 3 million people live here. The Colosseum still stands. The Pantheon, built 2,000 years ago, still holds the largest unreinforced concrete dome on Earth. Rewind 3,000 years, and there is nothing here. 7 low hills above a swampy river. Wooden huts. Farmers who live and die without ever being remembered. So what happened? War, betrayal, genius, plague, revolution. A city that started in mud huts and ended up ruling 30 million people across 3 continents. For centuries, we had only paintings and guesswork to tell us what ancient Rome actually looked like. The marble temples, the crowded forums, the streets packed with soldiers and merchants from every edge of the known world. Now, working from historical records and archaeological evidence, AI reconstruction lets us see it as it was. 3,000 years, one video. I'm Elias, and on this channel, we dive into the stories of empires, wars, and civilizations that shaped the modern world. Let's go back to where it all began. The year is 753 BC. The land along the Tiber River in central Italy is not impressive. 7 low hills rise above the marshland. The river floods every spring. Dozens of similar settlements dot the peninsula. Small communities of farmers and herders living in wooden huts, dying young, never heard from again. Rome settles here for reasons that have nothing to do with destiny and everything to do with geography. The Tiber crossing at this point is the lowest reliable ford on the river, far enough from the coast to defend, close enough to the sea to trade. Salt moves inland, cattle move south. Merchants traveling between the Greek colonies and the Etruscan cities have no other route. They must come through here. The Romans naturally told a better story. In their version, 2 brothers, Romulus and Remus, descended from the Trojan hero Aeneas, abandoned as infants, raised by a wolf. On April 21, 753 BC, a date Romans would celebrate for centuries, Romulus plowed a furrow around the Palatine Hill to mark the city's boundary. His brother Remus jumped over it mockingly. Romulus killed him. The city was founded in an act of fratricide. Even the Romans found that uncomfortable. But they kept the story because it contained a truth they recognized. Building something great requires choices that are hard to live with. The year is 509 BC. For 2 centuries, Rome has been governed by kings, 7 of them according to tradition. The last 3 were Etruscan. They built the city's first real drainage system, its first proper temples, its first civic center. They took a muddy marketplace and turned it into something that looked like a city. But the final Etruscan king, Tarquinius Superbus, the arrogant, ruled without consulting anyone. He executed rivals without trial. He treated Roman citizens as subjects rather than partners. Then his son raped a noblewoman named Lucretia. She told her father and husband what had happened. She made them swear to avenge her. Then she killed herself. The aristocracy rose. Led by a man named Lucius Junius Brutus, they expelled the king. The monarchy was finished. 2 consuls, elected annually, replaced the king. The Senate, a council of elder patricians, advised them. But the laws stayed unwritten, interpreted by priests and patricians, unreachable by ordinary people. For the next 2 centuries, the history of the Republic is largely the history of everyone else. The plebeians, the farmers, the craftsmen, the traders, pushing to be included. Their most powerful weapon was their numbers. Rome needed soldiers. The soldiers were plebeians. When war threatened and Rome needed its legions, the plebeians walked out of the city and sat on a hill and waited. Twice this happened. Twice the patricians had to negotiate. The plebeians won their own representatives, the tribunes, with the power to veto any action by a magistrate. They won the right to see the laws written down. The 12 tables, posted in the forum around 450 BC, so any citizen could know what the law actually said. By around 300 BC, the old distinction between patrician and plebeian had lost most of its practical meaning. The arrangement had been renegotiated. Rome grew stronger for it. The year is 264 BC. Rome controls the entire Italian peninsula, but across a narrow strip of water to the south, visible on a clear day from the Sicilian coast, sits the greatest commercial empire in the Western Mediterranean. Carthage. Carthage, on the North African coast near modern Tunis, had been a Mediterranean power for centuries before Rome was anything more than a cluster of hill villages. Its trading networks ran from Spain to the Levant. Its navy was the finest in the world. The 3 wars Rome fought against Carthage, spanning roughly 120 years, rank among the most consequential conflicts in ancient history. Not because Rome almost lost, though it did. The year is 218 BC. The Carthaginian general Hannibal Barca crosses the Alps with an army and 37 war elephants, descends into northern Italy, and spends 15 years on Roman soil without being expelled. At Cannae in 216 BC, somewhere between 50 and 70,000 Roman soldiers die in a single afternoon. Military historians still study the battle. Rome waited for Hannibal to march on the city. He never came. He lacked siege equipment, and the Italian allies, despite everything, largely stayed with Rome. Rome struck back by threatening Carthage directly. A young general named Scipio took the war to North Africa. Hannibal was recalled to defend his city. At Zama in 202 BC, Scipio defeated him. Carthage survived another 50 years. Then came the Third Punic War. Rome destroyed it entirely. The city was burned, the site was plowed. By 133 BC, Rome had added Spain, North Africa, Macedonia, and Greece, the dominant power in the Mediterranean world, without question. But quietly, Rome was coming apart. The year is 133 BC. The problem was land. Roman soldiers were required to own property. The Punic Wars had pulled men away from their farms for years at a stretch. Debts piled up. While small farmers were away fighting, wealthy Romans worked enormous estates with slave labor. When the soldiers came home, many found nothing left to come back to. A young tribune named Tiberius Gracchus stood in the forum and proposed a straightforward reform. Enforce the existing law limiting how much public land any single person could hold, and redistribute the excess to landless citizens. Legally legitimate, the Senate had him killed. A mob of senators and their clients beat him to death with broken chair legs and threw his body in the Tiber. 300 of his supporters died with him. A generation later, a general named Gaius Marius eliminated the property requirement for military service. Anyone could join, the state would equip them. Marius won his wars, but the soldiers who came out of that reform were not citizens temporarily leaving farms to serve the Republic. They were men with no farms to return to. They served for years, sometimes decades. Their loyalty ran to the general who recruited them, fed them, and promised them land, not to any abstract Roman institution. The year is 88 BC. Sulla, one of Marius's former subordinates, makes the logic plain. When the Senate assigns a lucrative eastern command to a rival, Sulla marches his army on Rome. The first time in the Republic's history, a Roman general leads Roman soldiers against the city itself. He wins. He publishes a list of enemies who can be killed by anyone for a reward. Thousands die. Then he resigns the dictatorship and retires to his estate. He dies the following year in his bed. The year is 49 BC. Caesar absorbs this lesson more thoroughly than anyone. When his command ends and the Senate moves to prosecute him, he crosses the Rubicon, the small river that legally separates his province from Italy. By 44 BC, Caesar is dictator in perpetuity. He is killed on the Ides of March by senators who believe they are saving the Republic. What they end is the last serious argument against one-man rule. The year is 27 BC. One man is standing in the ruins of the Republic. Octavian, Caesar's great-nephew and adopted son, was 18 years old the day the dictator died. He is 32 when he wins the last battle of the last civil war at Actium against Mark Antony and Cleopatra. Now he has to decide what to do with it all. Octavian understood something Caesar had not. Romans did not want to be ruled by a king. They had expelled their last king 5 centuries before, and the memory had not faded. The word rex, king, was the most toxic word in the Latin language, but they were also exhausted. A century of civil war, assassination, and upheaval had left Rome desperate for order. Octavian's offer: keep all the forms of the Republic. Keep the Senate, the elections, the consuls, the magistrates. Give them the appearance of everything they had before. In exchange, accept that he makes the real decisions. The Senate voted immediately to return power to him, granting him vast authority, all technically within the Republican framework, all technically temporary, all effectively permanent. They gave him a new name, Augustus, the revered one. Augustus ruled for 41 years. He ended the civil wars, secured the frontiers, and boasted of finding Rome a city of brick and leaving it a city of marble. 200,000 Roman citizens received free grain every month. Beyond bread, spectacle. The games in the amphitheaters were political theater. The emperor sat visible above the arena, seen by every citizen who came. Surrender your political freedom, receive peace, bread, and spectacle. For 3 generations after Augustus, the arrangement held. The year is 98 AD. The historian Gibbon would later call what followed the happiest era in human history. Trajan, Hadrian, Antoninus Pius, Marcus Aurelius, 4 emperors ruling from 98 to 180 AD. Under them, the empire reached its greatest geographic extent, its most efficient administration, its most durable peace. Under Trajan, the Forum of Trajan was completed, a complex so large it required cutting away part of a hill. At its center stood Trajan's column, over 100 feet tall, carved with a continuous spiral depicting his campaigns. The column still stands in the center of modern Rome, essentially intact. Hadrian commissioned the Pantheon, with its concrete dome that has not collapsed in 2,000 years. And then there was Marcus Aurelius. Marcus was not supposed to be emperor. He had spent his youth with Stoic philosophy, duty, self-discipline, acceptance of whatever circumstances arrived. He kept a private journal that survives today. One note, written during the cold campaigns on the Danube frontier: "Begin the morning by saying to thyself, I shall meet with the busy meddling, ungrateful, arrogant, deceitful, envious, unsocial." He held the line, barely. Marcus Aurelius died in 180 AD, having kept the whole structure intact through personal discipline alone. He had one biological son. He left him the empire. His name was Commodus. Commodus was 18 when he inherited. Governing held no interest for him. The arena did. He entered it himself hundreds of times, fighting deliberately weakened opponents. He renamed Rome, its months, its legions, all after himself. He declared himself the reincarnation of Hercules. On New Year's Eve, 192 AD, he was strangled by a wrestling partner, at the instruction of his chamberlain, his mistress, and the Praetorian prefect, all 3 of whom had just discovered they were on the next execution list. The year is 235 AD. What followed is called the crisis of the 3rd century. Between 235 and 284 AD, 49 years, Rome cycled through at least 26 emperors. Most were military commanders elevated by their troops after killing the previous holder of the throne. Most were themselves killed within months or years, usually by the troops of whoever came next. The empire fragmented, trade collapsed, the currency was debased so aggressively that prices spiraled, cities contracted, the roads and aqueducts that had been the empire's circulatory system fell into disrepair. One soldier pulled the pieces back together, the Emperor Aurelian, who reunified the empire by 274 AD. His troops gave him a title no emperor had ever held, Restitutor Orbis, restorer of the world. His own officers assassinated him the following year. The year is 312 AD. A general from what is now Serbia stands the night before a battle that will decide control of the entire Western Empire. His name was Constantine. He reportedly saw a vision, a cross of light above the sun. He ordered the Christian symbol painted on his soldiers' shields. He won. Constantine became the first Roman emperor to publicly support Christianity. He ended the persecution of Christians, convened the Council of Nicaea to settle theological disputes, and founded a new city. On the site of the old Greek colony of Byzantium, at the point where Europe meets Asia, he built Constantinople, dedicated in 330 AD. Rome, the actual city on the Tiber, was no longer the capital of the empire it had built. The year is 376 AD. The Huns, a nomadic confederation from the Central Asian steppe, had been pressing westward for decades, pushing the Germanic peoples into Rome's borders. The Visigoths, driven by the Huns, crossed the Danube into Roman territory, not as invaders, as refugees. Rome agreed to let them settle. Then Roman officials cheated them of food and supplies and forced them to sell their children as slaves. The Visigoths revolted. At Adrianople in 378 AD, they destroyed a Roman army and killed the Emperor Valens. the night of August 24th, 410 AD. For the first time in 800 years, enemy soldiers walk through the streets of Rome. Their torches light up the Forum. The marble temples cast long shadows over men who crossed the Alps, the Rhine, the Danube to stand here. The gates had been opened from the inside. 3 days later, the Visigoths leave. They take the gold, the silver, the sacred objects. The buildings they leave standing. The news reaches North Africa within days. Philosophers weep. In his study in Hippo, Augustine begins writing the book that will take him 13 years, trying to answer a single question. How could God allow Rome to fall? Rome did not fall that night. The Western Empire held on for another 66 years, emperor after emperor, lasting months before being killed or replaced by Germanic generals who had run out of patience for the pretense. The year is 476 AD. The last Western emperor, given the grimly ironic name Romulus Augustulus, Little Augustus, Little Romulus, is deposed by a Germanic general named Odoacer. Odoacer does not take the imperial title. He sends the imperial regalia to Constantinople and asks to be recognized as governor of Italy. No ceremony, no triumph in the Forum, no fire. The last Western emperor is escorted to a villa near Naples and given a pension. 476 AD, the city is still here. The Colosseum stands, the Pantheon stands. Water still runs through the aqueducts to the city's fountains. When did Rome fall? The question has no clean answer. The Western Empire ended in 476 AD, legally and administratively. The Eastern Empire, which kept calling itself Roman, survived another 1,000 years, until Constantinople fell to the Ottoman Turks in 1453. The Catholic Church carried Roman law, Roman Latin, and Roman administrative structures forward into every legal system in Europe. Rome itself was never truly abandoned. It declined, recovered, declined again, and now holds nearly 3 million people. What fell was the arrangement. The 12th century negotiation between the city and everyone it absorbed, between power and the people it fed, between the state and the soldiers it needed, between the civilization Rome had built and the world pressing in from outside the walls. The Huns did not destroy Rome. The Visigoths did not destroy Rome. They stopped maintaining the arrangement. And without it, Rome was just a collection of buildings on 7 hills above a river. The buildings stood. They stand today. Nearly 3,000 years. The same 7 hills, the same river. Thanks for watching. If this journey through Rome's history was worth your time, hit the like button and subscribe. More cities, more civilizations, more deep dives into the places that shape the world we live in. Tell me in the comments, what city should we visit next? As always, we'll see you in the past.